Hey guys, hope you're all well, keeping warm, a bit chilly, isn't it, out at the minute? I'm off to India, hopefully a bit warmer, on Saturday. I've got a group going out there, taking a group. It's a bit of a recce tour, so we're going from Chennai to Goa on rental bikes, Royal Enfields, from Chennai, doing about 1,400 miles, coast to coast, through the tea plantations. Um, and then up the coast to Goa, doing a one-way rental. So yeah, a bit of a recce for me. I have ridden India before, so I know how crazy it is, but it's the first time I've done a guided tour as such there. So we'll see how that goes. But it just got me on the topic of planning a trip, and that's a topic that quite a few people have raised to me in comments or just in passing. You know, how do you plan a trip? What's your mindset? Somebody asked me the other day about doing a trip, and I think it's a crucial question to motorcycle travel or anything in life, isn't it? Because it's very easy to let the fear of doing the trip put you off doing it, or to the same extent make you think you've got to plan it to such an nth degree that it sort of takes the fun out of it. For me, having done quite a lot of travelling now, but being very nervous in the early days, I mean, now if I was going to India on my own, I'd just book a flight and maybe a rental and have a rough idea, but just land and then make it up as I go along. Because modern technology and I guess the confidence of doing it quite often means that I know I can find my way to where I'm going. I can find accommodation, fuel, food, all that, all those elements that people worry about. I know it's very easy to manage when you're there. The difference, obviously, with taking a group is that everything's got to be. I have got to stress and worry and put into place the finer mechanics of a tour to make sure everyone enjoys it and we get the best trip possible and that it's safe and everything else. And I think that's, if you're starting out motorcycle travel, that's probably where you're going to be as well. You know, in the over planning stage, the overthinking stage, and it's very easy to let that sort of cloud your excitement, enjoyment, and the execution of the trip. Because look, you know, I think you've got to fundamentally ask yourself, why are you going on a motorcycle tour? And it's generally to get away from where we are today, which is the routine of everyday life. And I think one of the worst things you can do with a motorcycle trip is try and impart the same rigid structure or routine to the road as we live by day. You know, get up at a certain time, have breakfast at a certain time, have lunch at a certain time, have dinner at a certain time. You know exactly where we're going to be, when, and how. And I think when we try and impart that level of planning or regularity onto a tour, it tends to go to pot, because ultimately we're stepping into a very unfamiliar and unpredictable and varying landscape world. You know, wherever we go, whether it's a 2 day trip to Wales or up to Scotland or further afield, India or Europe or Spain or Morocco, you know, there are so many variables that we can't account for, we can't predict for. And I think trying to rigidly plan too much or prepare too much, it sort of trips you up, because then you're not ready to deal with the unexpected. And it's dealing with the unexpected, which I think is probably the most crucial skill you can have to do motorcycle travel, or any kind of travel for that matter. I was actually following a forum thread on a car website the other day, and somebody was poo-pooing Itchy Boots because she didn't know how to change wheel bearings. You know, and this is Itchy Boots, who's been around the world. She's done so much great travelling. It kind of is irrelevant that she doesn't know how to change wheel bearings. The fact is, she knows how to find a way for somebody to help her or to manage the situation as she goes. And so I think if you're nervous about doing a tour, don't necessarily think about the skill set or the tools that you can't carry with you, because you have to accept you can't carry everything. You can't know everything. You can't be able to fix everything or speak every language. And so it's actually it doesn't actually matter what we have. It's where our mind is really. And I came up with a bit of a corny line the other day, that if the mind's ready, then the world is ready. Because I think if you go out there with the right mindset, then anything on two wheels or anything in life is quite possible. So trying to think, do I really want to do this? Okay, I really want to do this. I really want to make this work. I want to do this trip. And that, again, could be 2 days in Wales, or it could be Scotland, or it could be around the world, whatever. It's the same mental process. And to be honest, you know, no matter how far you go, the actual act of motorcycle travel is the same. You just sit there and ride a long way. So scale is irrelevant. When people say, people say to me about the Sydney to London trip, I've done some travelling, but nothing like you've done. And it's kind of, well, that distance is irrelevant. You've still travelled. You've still took yourself out of your comfort zone. And I think that's how we define adventure travel, isn't it? Whether it's a bike or anything else, it takes us out of our comfort zone. And what you realise is actually the comfort zone when you start out is that big, and it was with me. I was very nervous, even travelling and not having any hotel booked or anything. I was very nervous. But then every time you step out your comfort zone, you're getting bigger and bigger, bigger, and then there is no limit to your comfort zone. You can go anywhere and do anything. And I think you've just got to realise that motorcycle travel, anything in life, fixing a plug, getting married, having kids, it always starts with this first step of nervousness. Where do we begin? Am I capable? Am I up to the job of doing it? And you're only going to find that out by doing it. And actually, you'll soon find out you can do it, and your confidence will grow the more you do it. Like raising a child, it's terrifying, isn't it? But once you're 5 years in, it's pretty, well, at the minute, touch wood, plain sailing. So just to go through a few pointers to give this a bit more of a structure. First question is where do you want to go? Asking that question, I think, is always crucial. Where do you want to go and why? Where's your dream destination? Is it Scotland? Is it Ireland? Is it America? Is it Morocco? Okay, so define that. Where do you want to go? Okay, when do you want to go there, and how long have you got? I think they're crucial factors, because it's always great to have burning ambitions to do a certain trip or a certain destination, but if you don't have the time or you don't have the money, then don't think you can't do anything. And I think that's almost a trap a lot of people fall into. They don't have time or the money or whatever to go around the world, so therefore they don't do anything, failing to realise there's lots of little places or closer destinations you could do in a week-long trip and still get that same sensation of being out on the road and exploring and being out your comfort zone. So don't think just because you can't do the ultimate trip you have in mind that it's not worth doing it, because it definitely is. For me, having done the big trip around the world, I still get that same sort of sense of wonderment on a Land's End to John O'Groats trip, or down to Spain or anything. It's that same internal, like, wow, I'm out of my comfort zone. I don't speak the language. I'm somewhere new. So don't think just because you can't do big trip, you can't do small trip and still get the same sort of satisfaction out of it. And then on a practical basis, don't say it's great to set ambitious targets, or to be ambitious and to stretch yourself, but I think don't be unrealistic. When you hear people saying, I'm going to do 10,000 miles in 2 weeks or whatever, some like really tight deadline. I'm going to go here. I'm going to do North Coast 500 in like 2 days or a day. And I think you've got to ask yourself, what do you want out of the tour? And there's some people motivated by miles, bashing out the miles. They can do 500 miles a day. If you're motivated, you can do 500 miles a day. It's been proven many times over. Nick Sanders proves it every time he gets on a bike. You can do big miles every day if that's your burning ambition. But ask yourself, is that what I want to do? Do I want to see things? Do I want to explore? Do I want to have longer lunches? Do I want to have the chance to stop and take note of the things I didn't think I was going to see, but now I'm seeing? I always like the fact that you make chance to stop at a cafe that catches your eye, or have a chat with a person who's struck up conversation. And I think always allowing time for the unpredictable to come into your journey and to make it more of an experience. I think that's a great thing. So yes, be ambitious with your journeys and your adventures, but also be realistic to what you want to get out of it, what you want to achieve. Because you want to get to the end of the trip and just feel like you've ridden millions of miles and not seen anything. I'm planning I've got a Balkans trip in October, and I kept thinking, let's ride down. Maybe let's ride down. We'll have a few days in Balkans and ride back. But you think, wow, what are we going to see at the Balkans? We're going to spend all our time in the Balkans wondering or worrying about riding back home, and so you don't really see the Balkans. You don't really experience it. So we're shipping bikes down to the Balkans and enjoying 12 days in the Balkans, being able to immerse ourselves in the Balkans, and then coming back on by shipping it. So always look at other options, whether it's a fly ride. What buys you more time to do the type of journeying that you want to do, rather than just transiting. And I always break it down into transit riding or adventure riding, and they're two different things. When you're transit riding, you can get up to Scotland in a day doing 600 miles. It's great, but that's different to adventure riding or enjoyable riding for me, where I'm basing myself on like 180 miles or 200 miles a day, and then I get to stop and see and experience and get immersed a little bit in the culture. So another option, it could be to ship your bike to Romania and ride back, taking the slow way. And that's why all my tours, or that's why all my travelling is back road. I never take motorway unless I really, really have to, just because I don't think there's anything worth seeing on it. Yes, you could say you could burst out lots of miles to get somewhere, use the motorway for that, and that's true. But I think if you base your trip around motorways, you're just riding in a rush. But everything's personal. In terms of accommodation, I mean the internet's made life so much easier in terms of accommodation. Booking.com, you could do it stepping stone method, like where you book the night's accommodation in that morning. Where do I want to go? How do I feel? Well, I'm going to aim for there. I'm going to book that accommodation. Okay, I'm going to ride to there, and then the next morning book the next one. And that's a great way of having a start point and an end point, but allowing the journey in between to change with the mood or the weather or the breakdowns or anything else that sort of gets in the way. That's how I did it. We did a tour in 2018 where we shipped bikes into New York, and we were riding out of LA over a 4-week period. And how I structured that one is every sort of 7th day I'd have a booked accommodation point. So 7 days, 14 days, 21 days. And that gave the trip a pace, a structure. But in between those days, we judged it as we went along. Well, where do we want to go? Where do we get to? What do we feel like? How tired are we? Where do other people want to go? And then we'd sort of pair off and come back together, and then meet again on the 7th day, on the 14th day, and on the 21st day. So it's a way of having structure, but not rigid structure. And it allowed us to take in the country and to vary our pace or vary our route as we saw it on the ground, because no amount of research or planning will ever be able to foresee everything that happens. And I would say try not to make a blueprint for a trip, because all you'll do is spend your time trying to stick to it rigidly. And it's a trick I have. We're taking a group, a guided group. I have to have a structure. I have to tell people where we're going to go and the route and GPX files and things like that. But it's also trying to build in enough flex to allow for people's preferences. Oh, I don't want to do any back roads there. I want to do motorway, or I want to go and see that up there. Okay, and having that flexibility and not being too rigid. Things like fuel. I mean, fuel's everywhere. Don't worry about fuel. Route. I do a lot of route planning on Google Maps, really. This is a recce for me in India, so I've not been out and ridden this route. With my customers, it'll be the first time I've ridden this route. And I do that quite often in a way with new tours, because Google Maps and everything else and the internet has allowed us to really analyze a route and dig into it before we even get there, to see what the corners are like, to see what the terrain's like, to see what the hotels are like, to see what type of food's like, everything. We can really analyze things online to the nth degree, almost to the detriment, and it takes away some of the surprise of finding new places or new roads. So you can do a hell of a lot of research online, and you can almost pre-ride it if I'm honest. But I would say don't do that. Don't do that, because the surprise is almost is what it's about. Think of the practicalities. Insurance, travel insurance. Don't go without travel insurance. It's really not worth it. I hear people skimping and saving on travel insurance. I've got some insurance with the bank, and they don't read the small print, so they go out with no insurance. Now, you only have to have a slip, a tumble, a crash, and you can be laid up in a hospital bed with no insurance to cover you. Make sure you are dotting the I's and crossing the T's on the travel insurance front, just to make sure that you're not going to get left stranded high and dry with a policy that doesn't cover you. So check it covers you for the size of bike that you're riding and the purpose of which you're doing, whether it's on road or off road. It's really not worth skimping. But that's it. I think the crucial thing is we all have fear. Even me, I'm fearful of this India trip. I'm fearful, or not fearful is the right word. I'm apprehensive. Is it going to go to plan? Is it going to come to fruition? Is it all going to materialise? And are we going to get home in one piece and all that? And I think that's entirely natural and normal. And no matter how many times we travel, we're always going to get that emotion. But that means that we're pushing ourselves. We're stepping into a slight unknown, which means the next time we do it, it won't be an unknown. It'll be something we've done before, and therefore we can do it with ease. And then we can decide to go again whether we want to extend our boundaries. So You know, for those people who are saying, what's your mindset? Well, your mindset is anxiety, nervousness, excitement, all those mixed into one, really. There's a cauldron of emotions setting off. It's like the same with anything, though, isn't it? You know, same with starting at school or starting a new job. It's just exactly the same thing. But if we don't do it, what do? We don't go anywhere. We don't see anything. We don't change. We don't strengthen ourselves. So I would say planning is the wrong word, but preparing is the right word. Prepare for the trip. Know what you need, whether it's visas or insurance. Know the intended route. Know what the road conditions are going to be like. Know whether you need a SIM card or how you're going to get your money out of the account, out at the banks out there. Know the practical elements of it. That's preparation. That's not planning. That's just good preparation. So nothing catches you out in that regard. But the rest, there's got to be an element where you leave the rest to chance, to the romance of the road, fate, whatever you want to call it. That's what often dictates a trip and guides a trip and also makes a trip. And you can try and plan those elements out of it like we do in day-to-day life. But in my experience, that doesn't work. And that's why we do these things, isn't it? Not to replicate 9-to-5 existence on the road. It's to cut free a little bit and run. And that's definitely what I get out of it. Because there's nothing more purposeful than being on a road with a destination ahead and a desire to get there. I think that's for me why a motorcycle trip is so pleasant, because life is messy, isn't it? We've got so many factors, so many distractions, so many things, whether it's emails or texts or jobs to do or things like that. On the road is it's there. My job, I'm riding. Nothing else really matters in that moment. I'm staying alive, I'm riding, I'm thinking about the weather, I'm thinking about food, I'm thinking about fuel, I'm thinking about accommodation, I'm thinking about the people behind me. But I'm looking ahead, I'm going somewhere, I'm moving forward. And that might not be for you. Motorcycle travel is not for everyone. It might not be for you. If you're not prepared to take that risk, it's not for you. And that's okay. That's okay. Nothing can be for everyone. So just a bit of a whimsical video just on the eve of India for 12 days, all on Himalayans, classic 350s and an Interceptor, 16 bikes, big number. Taking a medic and a second guide and lots of cash, because everyone wants to see, all the hotels and the bike rental companies want cash. Yeah, it's a different world. But we overcome and adapt. So that's it. I'll see you on the other side. I'll do some videos from India. But wherever you've got in mind, whether it's Wales or Scotland or wherever, just put something in place. Book that hotel, book that ferry, book that flight, whatever it is. Just put that one item in place, and that will make all that cloudiness, all that haziness, all that indecision, which sometimes makes us not do things. It will burn that away. Like the fog on an early summer's morning. And when that booking's in for that flight, all that, what do I do? When do I go? How do I do it? All that vanishes because you've got to focus on making it happen. So, if you're sat there wondering when this trip's going to happen, just book something, and then the mind does the rest. It's a miracle, really, how it all works, but it seems to. Anyway, take it easy. Yeah, I'll see you there. Bye.